Again, welcome to our last installment of our Career Chat evenings for 2025, where tonight we'll be covering things all technology when it comes to the UNSW Co-op Program. My name is Sam Southgate. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Scholar and Alumni Engagement Manager. And I'm also joined here by Michelle, who is the head of the Co-op Program, and some fantastic panelists who I'll introduce later. To start off with, just in terms of housekeeping, this session, like all of our sessions this week, will be recorded. The links for all three of these sessions will be sent to everyone who's registered to careers advisors as well, and will also be uploaded to our YouTube over the next few weeks. So don't stress if you miss something, or you may find a passion for one of the engineering or business streams that we had previously. You can watch those recordings online on our YouTube channel. There is also a Q&A box, so please feel free to include questions as we're going through the session. You can also upvote some existing questions if you really want to hear an answer from that particular one, and we'll keep track of that. Remember that you have the valuable opportunity in this session to hear from those that have walked or helped them walk the path that you are thinking to pursue, but also to ask them specific questions about their journey and advice. Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people who are the traditional custodians of the land we're coming to you from at the UNSW Kensington campus. So I acknowledge that Indigenous peoples of Australia have made and contribute to make significant contributions to education, business practices long before any of us were here. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who are joining us this evening. They have long embraced the power of storytelling as a way to share knowledge and connect generations, which is what we aim to do today with our amazing panelists. So, choosing a career, you might ask yourself, where do I even begin? So, you're at a point in life where it's good to start thinking about what you want to do as a career. Taking this first step can be confusing and or overwhelming. I remember feeling these moments when I was in your shoes many years ago. You could be having thoughts about, what do I study? Where do I want to study? What am I even good at? Well, how does this translate to a career? How does this fit into my own and my parents' expectations? You might even have a career in mind, but you're not really sure on that journey on how to get there. First things first, though, like making any decision or action, take a deep breath, focus, shake or dance it out, have a little wiggle if that helps, and try not to stress. So we'll talk through three key tips when thinking about careers, and I'll also share some reflections of my own journey. The beauty of these tips is that they still remain relevant no matter what stage, what step of your career or a new career journey that you're on. The first one is wanting to do your research, and you want to be a sponge, absorb it all. Figure out what's involved in a particular job, degree, or industry. And that can come from talking to people, getting different perspectives, learn about how they got where they are, and what skills they think are important to succeed in those fields. Ask them lots of questions. Show that level of curiosity, like what they wish they knew when they were in your shoes. When it comes to careers, there is no right or wrong. Developing that career path takes time, and you don't need to have all the answers now. Trust me, I didn't at each stage of my career path, and I probably still don't right now. Just remember to do what's best for you at the point in time. And remember, you're never stuck. It's always a path, it's always a journey. You're always making those steps, and you can always pivot and change your mind. Reflecting on my own journey, I thought I wanted to be chief economist of the RBA. Then I wanted to work in marketing, ended up in sales, then ended up in graduate recruitment, and now I'm here. I would not have expected to end up where I am, but I enjoyed every role and naturally progressed towards newly discovered passions that I had. When it comes to choosing a career destination, there's always multiple ways to get there, and usually no one person walks the same path. Look around at other people's careers. Think about what is best to prepare yourself for the next step that you're taking, and whether that's forwards, sideways, backwards, eventually forwards in a curly loop. It's all a combination on the career path and the journey that you take as an individual. So, where do you start? Or what are some things that you should be thinking about? Remember, this is personalized to each individual and it will look different for each one of you. Looking at your skills and your talents. Have a think about what are some things that you're naturally good at or what you've worked really hard to be great at. There may be other talents that you have, but you just don't know yet. Be curious and give things a go. Finding something that you don't like is equally valuable. So trying out those new experiences is going to give you a new insight that you didn't have before that you can apply. It's important to understand what your values are and figure out whether they align with the values of the work you'll be doing for the company or the industry as well. It's also good to do a stock take because these can change. Just like I mentioned in my career progression, those values and those priorities were shifting throughout those different stages of my life. Think about your interests. What think about what you enjoy or that you're passionate about, not what your parents, friends, siblings, or anyone else is passionate about or think you should be passionate about. You're in the driver's seat, so try and find what interests you. And if you're not sure, ask yourself what things you're drawn to or what things that you're naturally going to pick up or some passion projects that you might have been involved with. Ask yourself those things. Don't be afraid of trial and error, like I just mentioned before. Figuring out something is equally of value as figuring out something that you do or you don't like. Think about the opportunities. What influences or experiences that you've been through that you can draw upon and that you can reflect on? Maybe there was a particular activity that you got involved with and you might not have liked the overall activity, but there was a sliver or a portion of that that you really enjoyed. Drill into that, reflect, have a think about it. Is there someone in your community where you play sport, volunteer, work at that you can speak to and get those different perspectives that I was talking about before? Did you meet someone who inspired you previously? Did you read something that resonated with you? You want to be open to the opportunities around you, and you never know how they're going to come about, but you also don't know what opportunities exist out there. So go and do your research and have a think about those type of opportunities that can help shape your mindset and your understanding of where you want to go. Now, once you've asked yourself those questions, you'll have a little bit more information to work off, a little bit more reflection to do. So you need to find out more information. But the best way to do that is to continue asking the questions. You're always going to be seeking for more information at every point of your career path. You want to lean on your network. Talk to the people about those experiences, your trusted advisors. What lessons did they learn along the way? Do they have any contacts that could help you and give you a different perspective that they may not be able to provide you? Demonstrating that level of curiosity is definitely going to get you places. Get some life experience and get involved, whether it's joining a sports team, becoming the captain of that sports team or a manager, volunteering your time for a community group, whether that be within your schools or your local community, applying for some casual work. All work is good work and it's great experience. Get some of that life experience and gain those practical skills that you're able to reflect and grow from. Study is important, but it's not the single focus, and that won't do you any favors in the long run by having that singular focus. There is a big emphasis by the co-op program and companies on well-rounded individuals who can balance those commitments, have a wide variety of skills, interests, and experiences that have developed them into the person that they are today. It's not just about whether you can do the job well, but who you are as a person, because at the end of the day, joining a company, it's full of people. Yeah, there might be some technology involved, but it is with people. A variety of activities does look great on applications. It's a great way to learn more about you and will provide you a great supply of stories and examples for you to showcase your skills, interests, and learning. But it also gives you the ability to reflect on what you've grown from these individual activities, whether that's on the actual application or providing an interview answer when you come through for interview day. Seek out those opportunities and really go for them. You don't want to wait for those opportunities to come to you. Demonstrating that level of proactivity is going to get you far. Search for people you can meet and build connections with. Learn the new things to broaden your knowledge or to gain some new skills. But overall, don't panic. You have lots of time and don't need to have all the answers now. You're starting this journey early and may gain some advantages as a result. Starting that thinking journey will really benefit you. So what are the areas of study that we're talking about here today? So we're covering business information systems, commerce information systems, software engineering, and computer science. Without further ado, I'm not going to drill into these areas because we have some specialists on the call. I'm actually going to hand over to Dr. Christine Van Toorn to talk us through the information systems programs.
Thanks very much, Sam. And thanks everybody for joining us here. I'm Christine Van Toorn. I've been looking after the co-op scholars for a very long time. I'm from the School of Information Systems and Technology Management. And we have two programs across the school, which is located in UNSW Business School. So we have the Business Information Systems and we have the Commerce Information Systems. Basic difference between those two degrees. One's a business degree with a technical focus, and the other one is a commerce degree with a technical focus across information systems development. So each of those are out of the School of Information Systems, but they are based within the technology offerings across UNSW. So basically what we're doing is looking at business and challenges and how we can make businesses run more efficient, more effective, how we can come up with solutions that can help with societal challenges. We're all, drowning in data but starving for information. So much data around. Can we make sense of it? Um, yeah, something hot on everyone's lips about security. How do we manage? How do we store information and data? How do we use it ethically? How do we make sure people's privacy is managed effectively in an organisational setting? And information systems are everywhere. The area of IS is increasing. AI has come into the fore as well. So we really need to have lots of professional skills to make sure that we are ready for the next generation of graduates going into industry. We've got consulting areas, there's insurance companies, there's financial services sector, whether you're in a bank or other types of finance organisations, pharmaceutical companies, government organisations, across publishing and media, across retail, customer and food brand. These are all amazing sponsors that support the BIS and the CIS co-op programs.
Wonderful. Thanks, Christine. Next up, I believe we have Dong on the call. If you would like to take us away and talk us through the computer science and software engineering. But first, give us a little bit of intro to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. Just finished your course. I'm happy to be here to meet all you guys. So my name is Dong Wen, and I'm a senior lecturer in the School of Computer Science and Engineering. Also, I'm be here because I'm academic coordinator of computer science stream in the co-op program. So I guess you must have heard some like hot words like AI or ChatGPT or data, big data, and you may also have used in many software apps or playing games on desktop or mobile phones, right? So if you're interested in the foundation of those popular techniques or you are interested in how to develop the application or software that be used in your phone, or maybe just simply want to work in some like big, giant, famous IT companies like Google and Apple, Amazon in the future, I think you should consider like study computer science and all those stuff I mentioned just under that scope. So in this area, we currently now running two co-op programs, they're computer science and software engineering. And about these two programs, I guess the most frequent question we receive is, what's their differences? And for me, they are quite similar and all about informally some programming stuffs. So the software engineering sounds more about how to build the software informally, which is maybe the most important and prevalent task in IT. Well, in co-op computer science program, you will take more courses related to fundamental knowledge. So compare with software engineering program, and I guess a computer science may be more general and pay more attention on the foundation. And in other words, it's more flexible in the future. So, but anyway, the computer science world, I mean, the general computer science area is a quite fundamental, rapidly evolving discipline. The students will be, I guess, will be equipped with some theoretical knowledge and some practical skills to solve some complex problems. So for the instance of computer science degree, which you received by doing a computer science core program, I guess you will learn subjects like programming languages like Python, C or C++, some data structure and algorithms, some operation system stuffs. You will also able to explore some advanced knowledge like distributed data processing, cybersecurity, or like deep learning, which is a key of AI. I think after training for these various problems or areas, you will learn some like I guess a logical critical thinking method and capable to solve some advanced some problems. So I guess for the industry sector, the graduates of computer science, and so I guess they naturally go into roles to solve, of course, solve problem by computers. So as I mentioned, maybe a majority of programmers will do for developing software. So we normally call this role software engineering. Engineer. So according to the types of software, we may call it a web developer, app developer, or even a game developer. Okay. So in addition, maybe computer science graduates do some jobs for processing or managing some data. We normally call it a data scientist, which is a quite popular job over the last few years. Um, you may also do research, just like me, to like develop new techniques, systems, or theoretical stuff, whatever, to push the boundary of existing studies. So I guess now the computers has been used everywhere. So you'll be able to have a lot of we call the interdisciplinary career opportunity using the computer science skills. Because as I mentioned, every place like the slides here, finance, insurance, you're gonna use the computer science skills, right? Yeah, I think in summary, I think computer science or the IT major is one of the most like high growth fields worldwide. It can be applied across many areas like finance and health and media. So I guess you will have endless opportunities to innovate or create new things. Yes, yeah, that's basically what I want to say. Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for the insights there, Dong.
Yeah.
Next up, we're going to be moving into some career journeys. So, to start off with, we are going to hear from Rachel Jane, a 1998 Business Information Technology alumni and principal software engineer at Venmo. Then you'll hear from Lavinia Davison, a 2000 Information Systems Management alumnus who is the global head of operations at OpenSolar. Then you'll hear from two of our fantastic final year scholars, Patrick Bell, a 2022 Software Engineering Scholar, and Ritu Patel, a 2022 Business Information Systems Scholar. So I'll hand over to you there, Rachel.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam. It's really great to be back involved with the Co-op program again after all of these years. So I do appreciate the invite back to talk. My journey through life has not been a typical path. I mean, being a female software engineer in itself can be seen as an anomaly. I remember for a job that I just started in Wales in the United Kingdom, and it was my first day, and they were taking me around the room, introducing me to people that I would be working with. And I had this guy stood up and he stood right in front of me and he said, "But you're a girl." And I didn't know what to say. And I said, "Yes." And then he said it again. He goes, "But you're a girl." And I said, "Yes, I am." And I just sort of kept walking on. So that was really interesting. He'd never seen a female engineer before. So that was sort of an interesting introduction into that job. We ended up being great friends in the end, but it was just, yeah, it was something I'd never experienced before. I think it must have been playing Lemmings or Pac-Man on a cousin's computer at the age of 11 or 12 that started my love affair with computers. I actually left home at the age of 14 as I couldn't live with my emotionally abusive parents. So I learned how to budget my money from an early start, living off the homeless allowance and paying for my board. I loved to dance, and travel really interested me. So I saved diligently to pay for ballet lessons and a high school trip to Japan. But throughout that time, I knew that I loved computers. When I left my parents' home, the private school that I was attending at the time actually kicked me out. But this was actually more fortunate than not, because the local state high school that I ended up, they ended up accepting me and taking me. They gave me access to many more computers and subjects than I would have even been able to access at that previous school. The last school that I was at were very focused on teaching us girls how to type on typewriters so that when we left school that we could all get jobs as secretaries. I actually loved the information processing and technology subject that I did in years 11 and 12. For my final assignment, I coded a knowledge base for species identification. So you think asking questions, yes and no, and coming down the tree to know what type of animal, insect, plant you are to its Latin name. I always enjoyed solving logic problems. So programming was such a delightful challenge for me. After school, I knew that I wanted to do something with computers. I had no idea what jobs there were. So I basically applied for every type of computer-focused degree that I could during grade 12 because I didn't know the difference between multimedia, systems analysis, computer science. I just knew that I wanted to do something with computers. I didn't really have any access to resources to help me to know the difference. So I actually applied to 6 courses in Queensland, 6 in New South Wales, and 6 in Victoria, just to cover all the bases, because 6 was the maximum you were allowed to apply to in each state at the time. I don't know if that's the same now. I did actually talk to my school guidance counselor, who kind of also gave career advice at the school. She handed me some pamphlets about 2 different scholarships, so I applied to both of them. I got accepted for interviews for both of them, but due to my financial situation, I had to really take a gamble and choose one. The interview at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne was further away than far north Queensland. I lived in a little rural town inland from Cairns. So that was a really big trip for me. And the interview for the Co-op Scholarship in Sydney was closer and cheaper, flight-wise. So that really helped me choose. I didn't really understand the difference between the two at the time. And obviously, I was walking on clouds the day that I received the news that I was accepted for the BIT Co-op Scholarship at the University of New South Wales. And this was my journey into a professional career in technology. Now, the dot-com bubble burst around the time that I graduated from university. IT jobs were scarce at the time. I was very glad to have the 1.5 years of work experience that I gained while studying with the BIT Co-op course, as it gave me an advantage over the other IT graduates that were entering the workforce for the first time because they didn't have any work experience. IBM hired a large group of BIT students that year, but postponed our start date for just a bit under a year due to a lack of need for IT consultants at the time. I was used to not living off much, so I actually worked 3 jobs to get me through until that point. One job was actually working, doing database work for the Co-op program part-time. I also tutored at the University of New South Wales in one of the computing subjects, and I sold clothes in Paddington at a review store on Oxford Street. But nothing could stop me once I entered the workforce. I had chosen IBM specifically because they had a 7-week onboarding program in Florida in the United States of America. Now, working in technology has really enabled me to combine my love of my job with my love for travel. After working a few years at IBM in Sydney, I moved over to the United Kingdom, where I lived in Wales and England, working in government and investment banking industries. I popped over to Europe for long weekends on £1 flight deals. I enjoyed the city life of London and continued my career advancing to senior Java developer whilst getting my teeth stuck into greenfield full stack developments. I've been very fortunate to have been focused most of my career on greenfield projects. And by greenfield, I mean building products from scratch. Think of building something new on a vacant piece of land, metaphorically called a green field, where you have a blank slate to work with. Not everyone gets that opportunity because a lot of people go in to products that are already created in there, adding features or maintaining. So to have the opportunity to build things from the ground up is always an amazing experience. Upon returning to Australia, I have worked in superannuation, travel, retail banking, finance, and health tech industries. I was asked to join a music tech startup with an opportunity to move into Android app development. Java was the language for Android at the time, so a transition was an interesting and fun one for me. At that time, I'd been specializing in Java server-side development for years. So I found the fast gratification of senior development progress on a mobile app really refreshing. There's no pretty to see for all the efforts that you do when building on the server side, but it's very clear to see changes on the screen when testing a mobile app. I can say the rest is history from there. I've been working with mobile engineering, specializing in Android for over 12 years now. It had been over 9 years working with Java along with web technologies before that. The role I had before my current role was for an immersive experience company based out of Melbourne. I had the wonderful opportunity to work with location awareness. So you think beacons and GPS, layering and isolation of audio, capturing analytics, playback of video, a live sync technology that could be hooked up to like drone shows, and the integration of tech like augmented reality into the apps. So think about walking around a museum, you've got your buds in your ears connected to an app, and a dinosaur roars in your ears as you walk past a particular dinosaur that is actually hiding in the corner of the room. Only you hear it roar as it's specific to your location. So it was really exciting to be able to blend different technologies, hardware and software to make people feel immersed in their space. As much as I really enjoyed working for that company as the principal lead Android engineer, I felt that I'd built all of the libraries that they needed, and there was no longer any challenge for me there. It was a smaller company. I kind of hit the ceiling. Other engineers could easily plug in the libraries that I'd built depending on the needs of client apps. And so I was just really ready for my next adventure in life. I started looking for remote-only roles in the United States with the knowledge that these roles would still require me to actually live in the United States for legal reasons. I applied to a few different companies. I saw a job advert at PayPal, which sounded okay, but it required you to go to the office 3 days a week and live in Silicon Valley. Now, my plan was to live in Orange County in the southern part of California, and I was not going to go into an office as I'd been working remote for the past 10 years. But I applied anyway, thinking how it couldn't hurt, and at the least, it would be great interview practice for me. Now, the companies over here in the US put you through around 6 interviews, and they're not like typical interviews in Australia. 6 interviews later with PayPal, they offered me a job, but at a level lower than what I was expecting as the role that I applied for had been filled. I rejected that job offer, and so they asked me if I would be interested in working for a company called Venmo. So Venmo is a company that's actually owned by PayPal, and this is where the association comes. Now, one of my interviewers for the PayPal job was from Venmo, and he had talked really highly about the company, giving me a better impression about the company than PayPal, work-life balance, the type of technology used, that type of thing. And so I said, yes, I was interested. So I had an interview with the director at Venmo and was given the job straight away, which was fantastic. After that, it took a couple of months to organize the E3 visa for my family and for myself. But we moved over to Silicon Valley in December last year, and we've loved living here since. So my role at Venmo has expanded since I've arrived, and I feel like I'm affecting change for the better for the company. Like we've got hundreds of millions of users of the app. So to feel that you're producing something for all of those people to gain benefit from is a wonderful feeling. Now, for those of you who don't know about Venmo, it's an app that easily allows you to transfer money to your friends. You may have heard it in movies, just Venmo me, or I'll Venmo you that. In the US, transferring money between banks is actually really difficult. And this came as such a big surprise to me because, PayID, bank transfer, and BPay in Australia is so easy, but it's not over here. And that's why Venmo and PayPal are so successful. But yeah, that's pretty much my path of how I got into tech and my kind of crazy, curvy, traveling way of getting to where I am today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rachel. If anybody has any questions for Rachel in the Q&A, please feel free to use the Q&A function to submit those through. And without further ado, Lavinia, you've got the floor.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me today. Lately, I've found myself deep in conversations and reflections about careers. My daughter is in year 10 and has just chosen her HSC subjects, so a big moment for her. So our dinner chats have turned into career brainstorming sessions, and it's been quite a reminder of how exciting and also a little overwhelming when it comes to choosing your career. To kick things off, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, my 23-year journey in tech, some of those reflections I've had along the way about my own career, and hopefully some of what I've learned might be helpful for you as you navigate your own path. So let's get real. When I was in high school, I honestly had no clue what I wanted to do with my career. I simply chose the HSC subjects I loved, and that was the extent of my career planning at the time. all I really knew at that stage was that I quite fancied working, with some stints at Burger King, IKEA, book careers, and a bit of retail for good measure. It was actually my dad who first suggested that I consider a career in tech. He told me it was going to be the big thing in the early 2000s, and he wasn't wrong. Fast forward a little bit, and it was February 2000. We'd all just survived the great Y2K panic where the world might end. And I was sitting in the UNSW Co-op induction meeting, actually sitting right next to someone who I had no idea would go on to become my best friend in life. Actually, it was quite a productive day for me because I actually made my best friend, and also I found a boyfriend that day. So it was a super productive first day in the co-op program for me. I absolutely loved my years at UNSW. The co-op program was exceptional. Being surrounded by supportive and inspiring academics and industry leaders, it's an absolute privilege, and it's something that I'm still really grateful for today. It shaped my early career, and it also influenced a lot of my career choices along the way. The co-op industry placements were by far my favourite. I had the chance to work at some great companies, Zurich Insurance, then Macquarie Bank, and then British American Tobacco, known as BAT. Each experience was really different. I ended up staying on at Zurich in a part-time role for 12 months, and I left BAT 13 years after I started there as a co-op student. My choice to work at BAT has sometimes been a bit controversial and a misunderstood one. The common question I often get is, why did you choose to work there? And the honest answer is actually really simple. It was just a huge opportunity for me to learn. Of course, the product is controversial, but the business model is absolutely fascinating. So in Australia, for BAT, for example, you take 90 cents out of every dollar in revenue and you hand that straight to the government for excise tax, which means you operate the entire business and still deliver double-digit growth in a declining market with 10 cents. So it meant that it was an environment full of very intelligent people, very driven people. And for me, that was where I genuinely learnt a lot of things in my career from. It was a really progressive organisation as well when it came to roles. I thought, as being the most junior person on the team, I would be doing the stapling and getting the coffees and all that sort of thing. But as a 20-year-old co-op student, my first job was to run the cost forecasting for a $4 million tech implementation project, something I had no idea how to do and no business doing at the time. Looking back, it was pretty comical. But what it taught me was one of the most important lessons in my career is that the moments where I felt the most uncomfortable were often the ones where I learnt the most and I learnt the quickest. And that has really influenced my career choices, because from that moment on, I've always been drawn to roles and opportunities that make me feel uncomfortable. So I guess onto the next part of the story, my 4 career chapters. I like to put them into chapters. And that's one of the reflections I've had about my career in tech, and perhaps more than maybe other field, is your tech career can be made up of really distinct chapters. Perhaps this is due to the breadth of tech or the changing pace of the industry, but it's what I love about it. So let's start with chapter 1, which was probably traditional tech. My first chapter was exactly what you'd expect from someone fresh out of university, a foundational period. My first 5 years at BAT, I worked on solving business problems with tech solutions, implementing tech project after tech project, learned a really valuable lesson that the success of tech is actually dependent on users' willingness to adopt it. So that meant I wrote a lot of training programs, did a lot of training sessions. So it wasn't the most glamorous part of my tech career, but it gave me the foundational skills to do much bigger roles later on. And it was also really fun, maybe because I was surrounded by lots of different co-ops. So during that time in my career, I had like business analyst roles, project manager roles, and then ultimately I was responsible for managing a portfolio of tech projects. Towards the end of that chapter, I actually made a deliberate move out of the tech function and into the strategy team to broaden my business knowledge, because I realized to be really successful in tech, business knowledge was really important, and commercial skills. So I went into strategy, and I was responsible for shaping our responses to external regulatory developments. After a year, I returned to my first love, which was the tech function, but with a better understanding of the broader business landscape. Chapter 2, we'll call this Montreal and my CIO roles. So this chapter took me to snowy Montreal, where I stepped into my first role as a Chief Information Officer. It was a pretty major milestone in my career. I joined BAT Canada at a critical time. The business had experienced a sharp decline in market share and profitability, almost half, despite being one of BAT's larger markets. So it was very problematic for the global business. I was responsible of overseeing the operations of the day-to-day tech function and delivering a transformation project to turn the business around. So basically, I was there to rebuild the business through technology and digital transformation. It was a really high-pressure role, but also an incredible opportunity. And it was quite funny to have an Aussie in Montreal. My French was terrible. I learnt zero French while I was there, and I navigated the snow and minus 30 degrees quite poorly. I ended up in a dual role after 6 months, and I worked in strategy and planning again, and with my CIO role. I returned from Canada to welcome the arrival of my second child. And after maternity leave, I was promoted into definitely the most challenging role of my career, which was the Asia Pac CIO. Whilst the content was really familiar, for a CIO of that size business, I was quite young, if not the youngest, and of course the first female. So it was a little scary and daunting. But I loved that role, largely because of the diversity of the markets, from Japan to Indonesia to Pakistan. Each country was unique in its business challenges, the cultural nuances, the technology needs. No 2 days were the same in that role. And I'm a very curious person, so it kept me really busy and it pushed my boundaries. I was offered a role then, a long-term role, a promotion in London, which was exciting, but I ultimately decided that I wanted to stay close to my parents and raise my children in Australia. So at that point, I decided to take a bit of time out, although in true me fashion, that only lasted 6 weeks. And on to chapter 3. I got a call one sunny afternoon, as you do, from a former colleague asking if I'd joined Toll Logistics, which had been acquired by Japan Post. The role was an IT director role, creating a high-performing tech organisation and delivering a $400 million tech transformation program. At the time, the business was in real trouble. It had lost close to $4 billion in market value, wiping out about half of its worth. You can imagine Japan Post is not thrilled with the situation, but there seems to be an emerging pattern here of I love to rebuild businesses through technology. So I landed myself at Toll. The $400 million tech program had your traditional IT projects around consolidation of infrastructure, streamlining systems, driving efficiencies, and it also had some really exciting programs which I loved. Like one of them was exploring in-truck technologies that could monitor drivers' health indicators in real time. So the idea is it's designed to we install systems that can detect early signs of medical distress or driver fatigue, such medical distress being like a potential heart attack, allowing us to intervene before incidents occur. So that was one example of a super interesting project. Another part of that role was redesigning the IT operating model, so how we organise ourselves as a tech team of close to 1,000 people across the globe and how we work together. So on to my final chapter, building a tech company. This has probably been the wildest chapter of my career so far. 7 years ago, my husband co-founded a renewables tech company called Open Solar. The short version is I had to resign from my job at Toll and to jump in and help him. He's a tech genius, a comp sci genius, but building a company, especially one with this unique business model where it's mission driven, the product is free, so that we accelerate the adoption of solar energy globally is a very unique challenge and, of course, very personal to us as a family. Since then, I've been building this global company, and we design now $4 billion worth of solar per year, and we're used in 130 countries. We have a team of 140 people across 13 countries, all with a free product. So it's been this chapter's been pretty distinct from my earlier role. So it's not a tech position that I'm in, but it's building and scaling a tech business from nothing. It was just my husband, me, and our friend in my lounge room with an idea. So it's been pretty intense. It's unique. It's super fast paced. So I guess to wrap up, there are sort of three things that I've learnt about a career in tech, and have also been the three things that I love about working in this industry. Is the first being, go where you can learn. Not all learning opportunities are created equal. The best ones are often the most uncomfortable ones. So if it feels a little scary or unfamiliar, that's often where you get the best skills and best experience. The second is a tech career is made up of many chapters. That's one of the things that makes it so exciting. So you're not choosing one job, or you're not choosing one path. Every one of my chapters has been so different. And probably the final one, which might be my favorite, is that tech is one of the most diverse career choices you can make. So while some of your classmates might be choosing between finance, marketing, or talent, a career in tech lets you touch all of those functions. That's because tech's a horizontal function. It supports and connects every part of the business. Over years, I've worked with marketing, talent, supply chain, finance, all while being in tech. But beyond that, one of the things is how deeply ingrained tech is in all industries. So you get this dual diversity, where not only can you work across different functions within a business, but also move between entirely different industries. So using my own journey as example, I've worked in fast-moving consumer goods, logistics, and now renewables through clean tech. So that's a little bit about my tech career, my three big things that I've learnt. So thanks for having me today. If you ever have any questions about career in tech or want to chat about career pathways, you can just pop me an email. But thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lavinia. Next up, we've got the first of our scholars. So I'll hand over to you, Patrick. And I know it'll be difficult to summarise it in a few minutes, but if you can give it your best shot as to your journey as a co-op scholar, that would be great.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to be here, and it was very interesting listening to Lavinia and Rachel's journeys. Mine's going to be much shorter, like you say. So I'll get right into it. So originally, I went to university after school, and I knew I was going to do something with programming because I've always loved that. I had pretty good marks, or at least I thought I would have good marks. So I applied for a dual degree in mathematics and software engineering, just as a kind of doubling up in case I thought, oh, maybe I can do something with mathematics. I didn't apply for the Scholars Co-op Scholar Program, but later on I found I didn't really think I was going to use the mathematics part of my degree, because I knew I was going to have to end up doing a job that's more software based. So then I applied for the co-op program and dropped from my dual degree to single degree in software engineering. So that's actually why I have only 2 placements, because I was later. But normally people have 3 placements. So my first placement was at Rio Tinto Aluminium. This was in Brisbane, so I had to relocate, which was actually really great. I enjoyed that part of it, living on my own, and the opportunity I was given there to really direct my own project. So it was a 6-month placement, and the lead developer basically said, oh, we've got all these different pieces of software, and find something that you think you can do in 6 months and that will be valuable. And I really got to own the project, which I think Rachel was kind of talking about greenfield, which is also something I really enjoy. So in this role, I learned quite a few technical skills because it was just on my own, basically. Obviously, I was asking the lead developer for help, but had to do it myself. And then I also learned a lot about how these kind of businesses function. I was working in the smeltery area. So Rio Tinto is a mining company, and might not think of it being kind of a tech company, but they run these smelteries across Australia, and it's very important that the technology in these smelteries works 100% of the time and is well tested. So my project was actually based around testing that, testing their control system for their smeltery. And that was my first placement, 6 months, like I said. And then my second placement directly after was also 6 months at Atlassian. Atlassian runs, creates like project management software, most famously Jira, which is like a ticketing system. So I was in a sub-team within Atlassian concerned with Atlassian Home, which is kind of a product they have that is fairly new, but it may be third or fourth year in of what they were building. So it was also a great team because they had a lot of knowledge because they had also just built this whole product themselves, and they were very open to sharing, and I learned a lot there. I got to work on 2 projects there. One was a front-end project on interface, which was the first project, and the second was a back-end project, which I found I enjoyed more. Not that I disliked the front-end one, but I just found I enjoyed the back-end one more. So that was definitely a learning moment for me. And in that time, I learned a lot about communicating within these kind of teams, because my previous role I'd been more concerned on myself, whereas this one I had to really communicate with different designers and product managers and get their feedback and so on. I also learned a lot about user analytics, because both projects and a lot of Atlassian is concerned with making sure changes are effective and gathering analytics about the effect of those changes. So yeah, that's the 2 placements I had, and currently I am looking at graduate roles. I've also done a few volunteering things in between the end of my placements and this year. So yeah, really looking forward to how my career goes in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Patrick. And then next up, we've got Ritu from the BIS stream.
Thanks, Sam. It's definitely been a very, very valuable evening hearing about Rachel and Lavinia's stories, and just thinking about how diverse a tech career can be, as Lavinia was saying. And I remember thinking about this decision when I was in year 12 a few years ago, and just thinking that this is what I want to do. And as we've mentioned tonight, that it's all about making your career choice. It's all about thinking about what you like to do. And the scholarship's amazing. The co-op program is going to give you all the resources you need. But at the end of the day, you need to be in a position where you like your work. And making that choice now is probably going to be the most valuable thing that you will do this year. So try to think what I really enjoyed in school, and I really liked. I was doing business studies in the HSC. I was also doing IPT, and I loved IPT. Doing that subject was really fun, making a database, and everything was just so cool to me. So I thought, how can I really combine those 2 different courses? And I think I was just Googling some courses, and I just saw a degree that was called Business Information Systems. I'm like, wow, this has the 2 things that I really want to do. And I looked into the scholarship and had a go at it, and just applied for it. And I think the best advice for the actual scholarship application process is to really just put yourself out there, whether it is just looking at experiences, thinking about the extracurriculars you've done, the volunteer work, as well as the academics. And I think even just talking to people at the scholarship team, the academics are one part of the applications. What the team is really looking for is some well-rounded people, and that's what really got me into this scholarship program. It wasn't just about the studying. It would allow me to get the experience that I really needed to get a pretty much a head start in my career. And as you've seen in the slide, it's given me the 3 different placements that I've been on. So in my first year, I was at uni, and then in the second year, I went on a placement at the Commonwealth Bank. So CBA is how we usually refer. And I was actually doing a front-end developer role there. So that was really, really new to me. I was not comfortable with coding at all. My knowledge was limited to HTML and CSS, and that was pretty much it. But I was really able to just jump in there and develop front-end features for this new team that I was part of. We were using the Atlassian products, so bringing that agile workspace in and just learning how to code on the job. And it was just the learning that I had in that environment, just being part of my first corporate work experience, and just learning how to code on the job was really, really fun. And it was a great team, amazing product, and CBA uses one of the most advanced technologies in Australia and probably even in the world. So it's a really exciting space to be in. After that, in my third year, I did two other placements. One was at EY, and this was in an AI and data consulting bureau. So for those that don't know, consulting is essentially just giving advice to different businesses for different problems, and you're able to do that because of the specialty you have. So my team was specializing in AI and data, and while I was there, we were engaged in a 6-month client project. So it was perfect time for me. 6 months was my placement as well as the client project. And in that time, I was working with a large team to create data products for a medical device company. And the best part about this placement was I was able to actually try on several different roles. So whether that was business analysis, data analysis, even doing a little bit of data modeling. So my manager at that time was really comfortable with me just trying out different roles, talking to different people in my team and seeing what I can learn, and just having that diversity of experience was really valuable, as well as also making an impact to the client project we were doing. And then I went on to work at PayPal, which was in the PayPal Australia team, not the American one, unfortunately. But it was really fun, where we were just kind of looking at the PayPal products and integrating them with the super large businesses in Australia, and just entering the space of payments was really exciting. When we normally do transactions, we don't think about when you tap your card what's actually happening, but there are multiple information processes that happen. The merchants involved, the banks are involved, your account's being authenticated. There's just super cool stuff that happens behind the scenes, and that was really interesting for me to learn about. And this year, I am currently working on my honours. So I did all those 3 placements to the last 3 years, and I'm currently in my final year doing my honours at UNSW in AI strategy. So that's been really fun as well. And hopefully next year, I'll be returning to EY as a consultant, because that's what I really found was the most exciting for me, being able to work in different industries, different roles. And as we all know, AI is super exciting and kind of the space to be in for me at least now. And I believe I'll be able to learn the most there. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And if you have any questions as well, feel free to drop them in the chat, and hopefully we can answer them for you guys. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ritu. Taking my plug. I love it. So we're just going to move on for a little bit of a quick pitch, and then we'll move into the Q&A session here. But just a re-emphasis of the co-op program value propositions, I guess. We've got the industry experience, which you've heard so much about from all of our panelists, the networking and mentoring opportunities that you get. So we've got 2 alumni here, but we've got over 3,500 people in the alumni program since the beginning of the program starting. We've got the leadership and professional development, which helps underpin their ability to put their best self forward in those placements and those careers moving forward. And then I feel like the big draw card is obviously that financial support that you get throughout the 4-year programs as such here. Not only that, but it is full of friends and fun. So colleagues and cohorts and networks and all those fun relationships that you get to develop as part of the Co-op Scholarship Program, whether it's within your cohort or the alumni base that I just mentioned before. Just a reminder that applications close on the 30th of September, so don't leave it too late. Have a think and reflect on these conversations that you've had from today, and we look forward to seeing your application. Just remember, if you're sitting on the fence, we still recommend applying, because you never know what will end up happening. Please check our website and for some more information and for some key dates. And now I'll move it over to the Q&A session. So I might check in with you, Michelle, if we got any burning questions hot off the press.
Thanks, Sam. Hi, everyone. Do you know what? This is probably only a few questions in there. You can still add them in, but I absolutely love the first one, and we might throw to Rachel and Lavinia first for this. What advice would you give teenage you if you were making a career choice now? Don't know if anyone wants to jump in first. No thinking time.
Teenage me, wow. Well, teenage me didn't obviously know too much about the future. No one knows about the future. Things are changing so quickly. I think for me, it probably would have been good advice to actually know the difference between the computing courses. That would have probably helped me a lot, although I ended up getting my first preference. So I was just really lucky that worked out really well for me. Networking was nothing that I ever focused on. As a country girl, you don't do networking. That's like sucking up to people. It was a real, not something that you should do, but going through uni, you know, all the people that you meet, whether it's in the same course as you, an adjacent course, the lecturers, the tutors, everyone, just, you know, getting to meet people is wonderful, because later down the path, you know, when you have an idea about something, you know, someone has a specialization there, you know, you can always talk about things and grow together and learn through life. So networking is probably something I'd say. Now listen to me, young girl. Make sure you go out and meet as many people as you can. Don't be shy. Reach out.
Thanks, Rachel. Lavinia, did you want to add anything there, particularly with a teenager at home?
Sure. So I'll just give you the advice I gave my daughter over the last month when she was thinking about her careers. My biggest piece of advice was do as much work experience as you can, and in really diverse industries. It's the greatest way to find out what you like and what you don't like. So for example, she did a summer internship at a tech company in the office, came away and said, probably not for me. I did a week work experience in criminal defense, loved that. So just take all the different work experiences, but opportunities you can, but pick lots of different disciplines and industries. Don't pick all the same ones, because you don't really get as much insight from that if they're all really similar. And similar to Rachel, it would have been helpful if I had an understanding of the different types of tech degrees. I just landed in ISM with minimal research, but that actually would have been helpful if I put some effort into that.
I think the benefit that these guys have that you might not have had is it's all available at your fingertips, not just on the co-op website, but also on the co-op website. There's so many resources available for you. And as you know, Sam's kind of given a really brief overview of what the co-op program is. There's heaps of info on our website, but if you don't get the answers you're looking for tonight, or you think of a question tomorrow, you can always email us, shoot us through an email, or come to any of our other events. And particularly, and I can't say this enough, come to Open Day. It's a great opportunity for you to go and chat with the different schools, chat with students who are doing different degrees. And you know how sometimes when you're comparing two things in real time, it gives you more answers than like looking through a whole bunch of things up over a while. And you know, it's a really great opportunity. So thanks everyone for your answers there. The next question, and this is for anyone who'd like to jump in. What areas of new technology are you excited by or interested in?
I can give a quick bit about what I'm excited about. I love AI. I love it so much because it's transformed all the parts of my job that I don't particularly enjoy. So realistically, if we're real, there's parts of your job that you love, and I love most parts of my job. But for example, every time we do a product release, every 4 to 6 weeks, I don't love making sure the product release notes are in 20 different languages within 1 hour of moving to production. Not my favorite thing. But now AI does all of that for me in all different languages with the accents. And so I love the role of AI. I love how it changes the user experience and you can integrate it. I love how we no longer really need to answer support tickets in our business. 92% of our support tickets are answered by the AI bot that we train. Yeah, so it's something that I'm really excited about. And I know there's a lot of questions sometimes of, oh, will AI replace big chunks of the technology sector? I don't actually feel like that. What I feel about it is that it actually just really automates the bits that I feel like are tech commodities so that you can do more exciting things. And that's been my experience of AI.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to jump in there at all?
I'll just say that we've been doing research in the AI space, and one of the things that we're really looking at is responsible use of AI across financial institutions, across any kind of institutions. And the basic premise is just because we can do it doesn't mean we should. But Lavinia, I think you've hit the nail, on the head. I think the whole thing about AI is that it is changing those parts of our jobs that are perfunctory, that are not really exciting, that are repetitive, and it frees us time to do a lot more of the exciting things that we all want to do. Is it a big shift? Heck yes, it's a massive shift. Was the introduction of computers a big shift? Oh, yes. Okay. And I'm almost old enough to tell you that I was there like at the coalface, when computers were like a big deal. So, yeah, AI is something that is, the next thing on the hype cycle, I guess. But yeah.
That might link in with another question that has come through, which is, will AI reduce the amount of careers or will it open new doors? So maybe if you wanted to reflect or build on that, Christine, or any of the other panelists.
I don't mind, but if Flora's still around, I don't know if she's available. She's amazing. She's like the queen of AI. There you are, Flora. You're much better at this than me.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for throwing the ball to me, Christine. It's been wonderful hearing from all the other panelists. Thank you so much. And I want to pick up what Lavinia mentioned. In fact, AI, I believe, will just augment us to do our things better. And I think there's a lot of hype around AGI or superintelligence, but we're really far from what we call superintelligence. To be honest, I don't even know whether we should actually go there. We will. I think we'll end up with a lot of intelligent agents that are actually quite domain specific. Could be really good, and for example, in Lavinia, in your world, would be understanding, for example, potentially data and in charging behavior and things like that, or renewable data, for example, right? But in other domain will be financial transactions, and given the current domain of AI right now, I will say it takes a will take huge leap of development within the fundamental capability of AI in the model itself, in deep learning models, and also in transformers, to see the actual replacement. And one of the things that we're looking at software engineering right now, there's a lot of people can actually code with AI as well, right? Copilot and all that. But it's still, there's a lot of great things happening in this domain. But I think people still need to be able to think critically, because at the moment, the generative AI are only generating things that are highly similar. So if you want to be different, I think there needs to be some more higher level abstraction of thinking, creative thinking that is still needed. So I guess that's potentially shifting how the tech sector will look like. Even us as an educator have to be thinking more strategically on how we teach the new cohorts, to be more critical, to be on top of using AI as a partner rather than actually being dictated by the output of AI.
Thank you. Yes, we are very lucky to have Flora, who's also come flying in from other commitments as our software engineering academic coordinator. So Patrick, as the lone male on the panel, it's interesting how much the world has shifted from when Rachel was repeatedly asked if she was in fact female as a technologist at the beginning of her career to now. So thanks for that, Flora. Really appreciate it. There is a question here about what's the future education path after an engineering degree. I'll answer that as I think you're asking the question. If I haven't got it correct, feel free to clarify. But I think if you were looking at doing further education from an undergraduate engineering degree, rather than going into industry, or in tandem with going into industry, or going into industry and coming back and doing more study, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can do that. All engineering degrees at UNSW, so as part of the software engineering degree, there's an honours built into that, and to be a registered engineer in Australia, you do need to complete an honours level. But there's also then masters or PhD research opportunities. There are certainly a lot of co-op scholars who've gone out into industry after completing their degree and then come back and done study as well. So there's a whole bunch of ways you can get involved in further education if that's where you find your passion actually is. So I hope that answers that question. Christine, you've tagged yourself to answer this one, so I'm going to throw it to you, which is great. The expected ATAR and other curriculum for getting into the co-op scholarship, and whether it's a 3-year or a 4-year degree.
Okay, so for the information systems part of the degrees, the ATAR is 96, and they are both 4-year degrees. The BIS program has an honours year, which is a required component, which means that if you get first class honours, you can actually go straight into a PhD program whenever you decide if you want to come back and do a PhD, or go straight into a PhD from finishing the undergraduate degree. The Bachelor of Commerce Information Systems, which is what Lavinia did, is also a 4-year degree, Bachelor of Commerce degree. You may do an honours component if you want to, but you don't have to. You can do double majors or minors, so you can do information systems with marketing or finance or economics or accounting or any of the other majors across the commerce discipline. Yeah, for the technology across computer science and software engineering, Michelle, I do believe the ATAR is still 96.
Yep.
And
So
they
for
are
all
4-year
programs,
degrees.
that's right. Yeah. So for all programs in our technology streams, you've got a minimum entrance for the co-op program at a 96. And they're all 4-year programs. So it's a 4-year guaranteed scholarship and 4-year programs across both. Just in case anyone doesn't really know what honours is, or hasn't really heard that word or looked beyond the word on that, what it really is an opportunity to kind of deep dive into an area of interest for you. So, you're learning the fundamentals of technology throughout your degree. On placements, you're going to see it in action. You might see some things that you don't get to see in the classroom, which is one of the best things about industry placement. You might get to see more cutting edge things than what you're seeing in the classroom as well, because most of the technology degrees in particular are designed to get you to be able to think and your future as a technology graduate, rather than trying to teach you what's in place and what's in play right now. So the fabulous thing about honours is that you can go, hey, I'm really interested in security, and this particular problem in particular is of interest to me. So I want to try and frame my thesis around that and do further research and kind of direct the research. Now, obviously, there's a supervisor because we need an academic lens on that, but it does give you a lot more freedom than you have in, say, Information Systems 101, the basic fundamentals of information systems. So it's actually a really interesting and exciting component of those degrees.
Can I just ask Ritu, what's your thesis topic? And who are your supervisors? I mean, I know, but can I just ask you? Ritu's doing her honours year as we speak.
Yes, it is. It is really, really been a journey. My honours thesis is on AI strategy and bias mitigation. So, as Christine and everyone was saying, putting a governance lens on AI, which is really, really important, as well as AI strategy. And part of that, we're doing data collection. We're like interviewing lots of academics and so a lot of people in the industry actually, as a part of the research, and then doing surveys and reports to really synthesize what is happening in AI strategy, as well as how organizations are looking at the bias mitigation side of AI. And yeah, it's as Michelle was saying, it is really a great opportunity to dive into something you wanted to do. And actually, where I did get that idea from, that I would want to do AI governance or something related as my thesis was while I was at placement at EY in AI, when they were talking about some of these things, and it sparked my idea that this was something that could be really exciting. And here I am working on it this year. So yeah, that's possibly what an honors.
Cool. Patrick, you're also doing your honors at the moment?
Yeah. Doing my honors. My thesis supervisor is Dr. Dong Gong. Doing it around not something related to my placements, but 3D Gaussian splitting, which is a technique for reconstructing how like 3D objects look in a computer from photos of them. So it's really interesting. It's more research focused thesis. So when you do a thesis, there's three kinds of, at least at the moment, there's three kinds. There's a kind of more project-based one. There's a one that's mix of research and project, and there's more research one. So that's what I chose.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I'm very conscious of time, guys, and I know there's some questions we haven't got to. There's a couple of functional co-op application kind of questions and UNSW based questions. So one is, if you're living interstate and don't have the opportunity to come to Open Day, what would we suggest to experience and talk to other faculties? We have a website, the UNSW website is called events at UNSW or something like that. Is really simple, but it does actually bring together different faculty events, school-based events, things like that you can join online. But I will say, if you are thinking about spending 4 or 5 years or further study at a campus, if there's a chance for you to get down here, even if it's not for Open Day, if you're doing some travel, and you can swing by campus anytime, have a walk around. One of the most important things is that you find a place that suits you. We think Co-op's an amazing vehicle. We think UNSW is a fantastic university, but it has to be what's right for you. And I think that's one of the biggest things. We will also have a couple of general co-op sessions online coming up. If you've got general questions about co-op, if your school doesn't have a school visit organized, students from different programs will be on those, but faculties also have those. So that might be another way for you to get some information there. There's a question, as a student from New Zealand, am I expected to attend the interview in person? Our interviews are done in person. As I like to remind people, when the CEOs, CTOs, CIOs, CFOs come to campus for interviews, it really makes a big impression, a big difference whether you're there in person or online. That being said, if you live internationally, then we do have an opportunity for you to submit some consideration request. But we do that on a case-by-case basis. We review the information that you've submitted. For anyone who is in Australia and in Sydney, going to Bali for schoolies is not a great excuse. We don't approve every request that comes in. And part of that is Co-op is a commitment. The sponsor companies are committing to you, and we want to see that you're taking that seriously as well. But you can submit those consideration requests once you've been made an offer of interview. You don't have to do that in advance. There's a question there about trial marks and yearly marks and things like that. I might take that one offline. We might put that in our comms that we send out following the event, Sam. Just a reminder that if you've got those kind of technical questions and you can't find answers in the online resources that we have available, because that's quite an in-depth kind of thing to go through. But if your school doesn't have trials, you don't have to worry about trials. Just put dashes in any columns that aren't relevant for you. So we'll move on from that. What happens if you don't get sponsored for the honours thesis in engineering? In the software engineering program, the thesis, the honours year, is incorporated into the 4 years, as it is with the BIS program. So the 4-year scholarship covers the honours in the software and the BIS programs. So for technology, that's not relevant. For other programs, obviously, it's a 4-year guaranteed scholarship. There might be other opportunities for you to either do internships or have a part-time job on campus. There's heaps of jobs for students on campus as well. So I'm going to click through that one. International students, unfortunately, the Co-op Program scholarship is open to Australian citizens, permanent residents, and New Zealand citizens, and anyone with a refugee status recognised by UAC. It's not open for international students, I'm afraid. That's largely around the internships and the insurance that goes around that. So apologies for that, but there are a lot of other opportunities at UNSW for international students to get experience. Campus tours during the co-op interview. We do an interview briefing day the day before interviews. So there's an opportunity to look around campus with our fabulous current scholars in the co-op SOC. Questions around how many scholarships are available. We get this one a lot. Each year we're going out to industry to ask them to sponsor. So the number of scholarships in each stream changes year on year. I will reiterate to everybody on the call, it's very difficult. It's actually impossible to get a scholarship if you don't apply. So your focus needs to be on, am I interested? Does this sound like a vehicle for me? Is this something I want to do? If you answer yes to those 3 questions, then put in an application. The worst thing that can come from that is that you think a little bit harder and a little bit deeper about what you want to do. You have a better understanding of where the careers might be. And if you come through to interview, even the interview in and of itself is a fantastic experience that most students don't get until they are at the graduating side of things. So on the flip side, you can end up with $88,000 in your pocket over 4 years, some fantastic experiences, better understanding of who you are and where you want to go in your career, and some awesome friends and a network like these wonderful people you're seeing on screen. So there's a lot to gain and very little to lose in submitting an application. I'm going to leave it there, Sam. I think if we wrap up here, there's a lot more questions I'm sure that you have in your hearts that you haven't asked. But again, if you want to, you can reach out to the Co-op Program. We will make all of these recordings available. Back to you, Sam.
Thanks, Michelle. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us tonight. And I really hope that it's been helpful in navigating your next step and maybe a few sparky moments that are going to inspire you to submit that standout application. Just a reminder that we will send everyone who's registered a link to the recordings, and they will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We'll also send across some additional information for any popular questions, including the marking question for the year 11 and 12 marks. If you don't already, please follow us on our social media platforms, especially Instagram. We showcase our scholar experiences, achievements, provide some tips on applications, and highlight some of our other co-op events. So it's a fantastic way to stay connected with us, know what's coming up next, and maybe even get some inspiration by watching what our existing co-op scholars get up to there as well. So a massive thank you to our amazing panelists that have joined from all across the world to come and be here with us today, from scholars to alumni to our amazing academic coordinators. These are all the critical plugs, I guess, that really keep the mechanisms of the co-op program going. So I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to you all for taking your time out to share your insights with all these students.